Monterey Peninsula, an appealing part of Central California, has an array of sights to see, including Cannery Row. This Pacific coastline, famously painted into American literature by John Steinbeck, is for us enhanced by the WeatherTech Raceway Laguna, Seca and Ferrari Racing Days. The second round of the Ferrari Challenge North America embraced this undulating racing circuit, widely anticipated by the fans and the teams. The drivers will deliver when they take to the tarmac, and at the end of the weekend, those that are victorious will have earned their accolades. Forza Ferrari. Hello everyone, a very good morning to you. Welcome to the Ferrari Racing Days here at Laguna Seca. It is early in the morning. It's, if I dare say it, a tad chilly, I must say. But here we are, looking forward to red-hot race action during the course of the day. And, of course, it's qualifying that will start things off for us as the 488 cars are lining up ready to get out there for their short, sharp 20-minute qualifying session. It is round 2 of our 2024 calendar. We're here in California before we move to support Formula One in Canada. Then it's Watkins Glen International ahead of Sonoma Raceway. Then Indianapolis Motor Speedway mid-September before the finale Mondiali in the Emilia-Romagna region mid-October. So those photos and the images that you can see there of this really rather delightful undulating circuit here in California. It's quite a short lap, but it's a lap that takes you up and down through some of the most challenging corners there are, including, of course, the world-famous corkscrew. And a very, very interesting circuit that the drivers love coming to. And just a little bit of early mist around. The track temperature is currently 13 degrees, which is matched by the air temperature. Humidity of 73% and just 11 kilometers per hour of wind. So no impacts there to our drivers. And Tony Villander, Ferrari ambassador and top racing driver, is alongside me for the broadcasts once again today. And Tony, if today is anything like yesterday, we are in for a treat.
Yeah, it was an exciting day yesterday. A lot of track action. It was quite difficult to start for the morning. Misty conditions with some rain. Drivers did really well, but like I said, it wasn't easy. Towards the afternoon, the weather cleared, and it was a great day of racing. Great to see the other activities as well on track, F1 car, FX6 program, Club GT. There was even some new 296 GT3s on track, and I was following those. Maybe one day I get to drive them again. So what a great day yesterday, and the weather looks even better today. So it will be an exciting day.
Thank you, Tony. Yes, the Racing Days does pack the paddock and the racetrack with lots of activities. And down there, in amongst it, is another member of our team, and that, of course, is Shay Adam. Good morning, Shay.
Good morning, gentlemen. The weather is much better than it was yesterday. There's no precipitation falling from the sky, but it's far from warmer, I would say. So the good news is the lap time should be considerably quicker than what we saw yesterday for qualifying. Our fastest lap of the weekend so far by one of our Ferrari Challenge drivers in the 488 has been a 25.1. I would expect we'll get somewhere near that in qualifying this morning because of these cooler conditions, and the 488s will be happier to breathe. But before we get into qualifying, I just want to take a moment to recap a little bit of what happened yesterday in the chaos of the end of the race, particularly for the shell cars, because it was Richard Pineda who came home with the win until after the race. Post-race penalties applied, and ultimately he was dropped down the charts, and it resulted in Matt Dalton, car number 133. That is the Tiger livery car, the one that, well, it evokes memories of a tiger for me. Matt was awarded his first win, and this is kind of a full circle moment because, Dave, as you'll remember, at Circuit of the Americas, Matt got his first win and then lost it on post-race penalties. So really, really pleased for the driver of the number 133, and he gave me a big wave and a big smile before the green flag just came out. He's ready to go try and earn a pole position.
Thank you, Shay, for keeping us up to speed. And yes, well done to Matt Dalton then, righting the wrongs, arguably, of his penalty that he received in Kota. He takes his win here in Laguna Seca. I have to say, I feel a bit for Richard Pineda, who was really, really delighted and celebrated in fine style. But fear not. The victory will come again, I have no doubt, as we see the cars then launching themselves out onto the track for this qualifying session. As Shay quite rightly has said, Tony, yesterday it was altogether different for our drivers who had to cope with it wasn't a rain-sodden track, but it was certainly damp, wasn't it? And it was very, very difficult, whereas today, albeit it is cooler, the track is bone dry.
Yeah, that is true. We have a total of 3 sessions of qualifying, and yesterday morning 2 sessions were completely on rain tires and the last one on slicks, and we actually saw some cars spinning. Now the track condition is completely dry. The only and the biggest thing is the track temperature. So yes, drivers need to be patient, build up the pressures, but also the temperature on tire. Do not push before the tire is ready, because you may damage the tire in a way that the performance will never reach the level that you are hoping for. So patience with the car and the tires, and when the tires are ready, then you are good to go.
And when will the tyres be ready, Tony? You know, does it take 1 lap, 1.5 laps, 2 laps, particularly in these ambient temperatures? When will those tyres of Stephen Chen, for example, be in the window of optimization?
So the best way to warm up the tires is progression. You increase your speed progressively, and then you start to feel when the front end grips normally, when the rear is there, then you can start to increase and go towards the normal lap times. And after that, the next 2 laps are the critical ones where you really have the peak of the tire, and then you should be able to do your best lap times even on the weekend. So this is the best moment for the drivers. New tires, stickers like we say here in America, and then low fuel. That is the ideal and the best moment for the driver.
Thank you, Tony. Of course, the drivers, what they also have to bear in mind is, of course, that the tyres that they qualify on will be the tyres that they start the race on. Therefore, there's this risk-reward dynamic that comes into this qualifying, which makes it very interesting for us, because sometimes you can lose or use too much rubber in pursuit of finding another tenth, and perhaps, you know, you might not even earn a place on the grid. You might, but it might mean that you stay on the same row, and you then have to consider, where is the advantage going to be? Am I better off having longevity of rubber in the race, or am I better off really pushing hard now to try and garner maybe a place or maybe not? You know, that is a risk. It is there is a reward to be had, but you do have to make that decision as to what you feel you're more comfortable with, whether it's having the grip in the race, certainly towards the second half of the race when perhaps tyre deck will have an impact, and if you've saved those tyres during your qualifying session, that could be of benefit, Tony.
Yeah, that is a good point. The same philosophy of Formula One or many disciplines of motorsport is that the whole weekend is sort of a strategy that you follow. Yes. Post your lap time early in qualifying, don't burn the tires before the race, and this is all part of the game plan that you go into the qualifying. You don't always succeed, you need to do something more. Obviously track position, we saw here, that is critical. You need to start in those front rows in your own category to be able to have a good result. The overtaking is not easy here. As we see 66, the tires are not ready yet, take it easy. The
Yes.
car was sliding a bit, so even in Formula One, you see the top drivers, they go in the different qualifying sessions where they post the lap time straight away, and this way they can save the tires for later on, either in qualifying or in the race. So same basic idea is here also with the Ferrari Challenge. Do your lap time quickly, 1-2 flyers, and then you can save the tires for the race.
It's very interesting because different drivers have different ways of doing this, as we saw. You quite rightly mentioned Brad Falver getting a little bit sideways, which was exciting for us. Not the quickest way round for him. Logan Broughton, that we're watching now in the all-white car. You can see the order on the left-hand side of your screen, just so that you're able to really identify who is racing in which category here. The drivers with the red strip across the top of the windscreen are Pirelli drivers. The drivers with the yellow strip across the top of the windscreen are Shell drivers. These cars are last year's, still current today, of course, but of course we are driving the new 296 in the challenge. However, there are so many drivers that wanted to take part in the 488 Challenge Evo. Those are the cars that you're looking at right now. They're the first out to qualify during this session. Stephen Chen for Ferrari of Houston is currently third fastest, and he's being tracked here by Mark Musso. And as you can see from the graphics on the bottom of your screen, first in the yellow category, which is the Shell category, is Stephen Chen, and then you can see also in that mix the red car, or the red strip across the top of the windscreen of the blue and yellow car of Mark Musso, driver of car number 13, who's currently third fastest overall and third fastest within his group. When we were racing just a couple of weeks ago in the European Challenge, it was very interesting what Tony was saying about how drivers, how they should adopt their rationale when it comes to qualifying and thinking about the tyres. I had the privilege of having a guest alongside me, very much like you, Tony, and someone you know very well, and that's Timo Glock. And Timo was for the first time out racing in a challenge car and absolutely loved his experience in the Ferrari Challenge. And wanted to join me on the air, for which I had no doubts in saying yes. And Timo is one of those drivers, and he was explaining, much as you have done, Tony, that every driver and team have perhaps a different strategy. With Timo, it's very much go at it straight away, nail the lap, bank it early on, and then park the car, and that's precisely what he did. And yeah, some drivers have a more cautious approach, don't they? And there's no right or wrong necessarily, it's just different drivers have different modus operandi, if you will. So we look at Jason McCarthy now, who of course double bubbled this weekend. So he's racing not only in the 488 Challenge Evo cars, where he momentarily went to the top of the chart, but he's also racing in the 296s as well. The young whippersnapper that is Massimo Perina, true young talent making his way through the Ferrari Challenge, and he has got an awesome record, because he has posted already a 125.333. He is at the top of the chart, as the indicator shows you on the graphics there. Massimo Perina is a really talented young man who's destined for good things, I would say to you.
Yeah, I'm very impressed with this young driver. Very confident in when Shea is interviewing him. Also the action on track, posting the lap times in qualifying, race starts, restarts. Feels like he has everything under control. So you can see an athlete that is really confident on what he's doing, and it's great to see. What comes to this qualifying, both drivers, Jason McCarthy and Massimo Perina, they ran into traffic. They posted their lap time and then they had to back off, because sometimes if you do 2 laps in a row, the second one might be a bit better. Now they had to back off because running into a bit slower car. So interesting to see how if they need to do a sort of cool down lap and then try again.
A point that you made, which I believe is utterly critical, as we look at the 198 car of Enoch Hurd, the Ferrari of Atlanta driver. Good morning, Webb, I should say, for Ferrari of Atlanta, team dealer principal. What I should say is, what I want to say is, you made the point that Laguna Seca you can overtake. Certainly you can. It's not a track that is necessarily very easy to overtake, and you almost have to provoke a mistake from the driver that you're planning on overtaking. Massimo Perina proved that yesterday, because Jason McCarthy, who is an undoubted top driver, track position here is perhaps more important than at some other circuits.
Yeah, it's true. It's the configuration of the track is old. It's not the widest track, and then it follows a sort of flow. You have only one racing line which has more grip, and if the driver really decides to defend aggressively his position, it's very difficult to overtake, and you almost need a slight contact to be able to overtake. And these 488s or 296s you can make quite wide on this Laguna Seca track. So we saw some drivers after difficult qualifying coming up the ranks.
Yes.
But once you come in the position that you are matching their lap time and you are not gaining a huge amount, you're almost stuck there. You
Yes.
cannot then the great recovery stops, and then you are in that position. Yesterday with the 296, Jeff Nürnberg had a really nice run. He started last and he came up to P5. So we saw some drivers overtaking, but it's not easy. You need determination.
We're watching Gregory Hopkins, or we were before we cross now to the car of the 179 car that you can see there, the all-white machine. Which looks absolutely brilliant out there, qualifying at the moment in this Ferrari Challenge. These are the 488 Challenge Evo cars that we are watching right now as they're posting their lap times for qualifying and trying to find themselves as high up the order as they can possibly get when it comes to qualifying. Massimo Perina leading the pack at the moment for Ferrari of Seattle. He is a Pirelli driver. The best of the Shell drivers is Matthew Dalton for Ferrari of Long Island, and he's posted a 127.553. Very interestingly is that Massimo Perina, who has been out early on, and we've only got 9 minutes remaining in this qualifying session, he has posted a time which is a clear second quicker than anybody else. So he obviously warmed the tyres up following Tony Verlander's instructions, did it all properly, and he posted his lap and has done a very, very good job, and he's a clear second ahead of anybody else. I have to say, like Tony, I'm very impressed with the young man. He is clearly very, very talented. Knows how to work the media as well, which is, of course, important in a young racing driver's bag of talent that you need. It's very, very important as we see the number 22 car, Michael Porter, for Ferrari of Seattle come into the pit lane. Gregory Hopkins, then, is P3 at the moment because it's Guido Svenslovas who is quickest in the Shell drivers. Matthew Dalton does improve, and he is P2, chasing down the Continental Autosports driver within class who is currently P1. So all the drivers out there in their qualifying session, as I say, it's only 20 minutes long, and when you factor in the fact that you've got to bring the tyres up to temperature, you've got to get the car into the perfect optimized operational window, and then of course you've got to factor in traffic and keeping the car millimetrically perfect on the tarmac, which there was a good example of how you can almost run just a little bit wide. And that is Massimo Perina, who has been vaulted at the top by Jason McCarthy. So here he is trying to respond, Tony.
Yeah, he's really on the limit now. I was wondering that why he has to go so hard, but the timing and scoring is showing that he will suddenly drop down to P2, so he has to be on it again. So both drivers ran into traffic after the initial fast lap, and now they're on it again. So interesting to see Perina's lap. The car was a little bit all over the place, a little bit of movement. Let's see. Wow, what a response.
He responds by taking 7.5 tenths out of Jason McCarthy's time, Tony, and that perhaps was not the best lap that he could deliver.
Yeah, it wasn't super smooth, but the way the car was moving around turn 6, going towards the corkscrew, everything, he was really on it. So beautiful lap, but the demonstration of great driving, and the driver is really confident with his machine, really confident with his car, and impressive lap, and a lot of confidence through those fast corners with the car 26, Massimo Perina.
Yes, Massimo Perina then at the top of the chart with Jason McCarthy relegated to P2 momentarily. We've still got 6.5 minutes to run. This is Joel Rosenbacher then, who's currently P12 within class, expecting improvement from Joel Rosenbacher as he heads to break the timing beam now, and we'll see where that vaults the 179 car in terms of the overall order thus far. It's Perina from McCarthy from Broughton in the Pirelli class. For the Shell drivers, it's Gregory Hopkins from Guido Svenslovas, and then it is Matthew Dalton, who is third fastest currently. And still time for those drivers to change the order, that's for sure, as we watch the 117 car now, which is currently 15th, the Ferrari of Atlanta driver. Jeffrey Keel then heading towards the timing beam right now. Is this going to be an improvement? Target time is into the 124s now, a 124.442. The best time posted thus far is from Massimo Perina. And very good avoidance then, because a car, just as he was about to turn in, all of a sudden the gap that he was turning into was really rather filled by the 488 Challenge Evo of Brad Evans. So Brad Evans, who finished P7 yesterday, took advantage of going into turn number 1, the Ferrari of San Antonio driver, whose best lap is a 1:29.653. So he is looking for an improvement in the final 5 minutes of this qualifying session, which Massimo Perina leads overall. He is the quickest driver out there, a full 7.5 tenths quicker than the next best, which is Jason McCarthy. So Perina from McCarthy from Broughton. For the Pirelli drivers, for the Shell drivers, it's Hopkins, Vetslovas and Dalton. And that's the way it looks at the moment. So here we watch the cars coming through the sequence of turns here. And it's really interesting as we watch Gudenzi. You've said more than once, Tony, that this track is a kind of a flowing track. It's very, very undulating, and as I mentioned in our programs yesterday, there are some tracks that we look at where drivers can at least have a very long straight with which they can breathe a sigh of relief almost. It just doesn't feel like you get that opportunity here at Laguna Seca where you've got to be on it all the lap.
Yeah, with the flow, with the elevation changes, the car setup is difficult to get it completely right. You always struggle with a little bit of understeer. You need the rotation in turn 2. Then at the high speed, balance varies a lot. So you need to be really focused all the time. Real hard braking zones is only basically in the end of the main straight. After that, it's just carrying that speed, that momentum through the corners, and keep your car on the right racing line. We saw some mistakes yesterday. The drivers were approaching corners, they lost the apex and straight away to the gravel. And that's the tricky thing of Laguna Seca is sometimes outside racing line it's a bit dusty. There's a little bit of sand, and then you're not able to stop anymore, or you lose the lap, or even some places in the race. So that's the difficult part of Laguna. They repaved the track last year. Before that, it was really, really aggressive on tires. There has been a slight improvement, but still the tires are key element when we go racing this afternoon.
You made the point when we were out there on the track yesterday, taking a look. Actually, it was on Friday. You and I doing a couple of pieces to camera up at the corkscrew, and taking a look at the track as well. Certainly during that repaving, they introduced just a tiny little bit of runoff areas with the green painted tarmac, which has, if I'm honest with you, I think has allowed the drivers to explore a little bit more and carry just a little bit more speed in certain turns. Because previously, if you did that, basically you were bitten on the bottom and you were nerfed out and turfed out. Whereas now, I just feel that is quite an improvement. I mean, it hasn't altered the character of the track. It is still very much, as you say, as Steve Levitt crosses the line here, it's still an old school circuit, which is going to, so clearly Massimo Perina is particularly happy with his lap. He's so confident that he's taken on board some fluid right now. He's out of the car and he's convinced that no one is going to better his 1:24.442. But yes, back to what I was saying. These old school circuits, which are a delight for us to commentate on, as we see Lance Corley now heading towards the timing line. It's great for the drivers really to experience these circuits as well. I mean, it's very different to where we were and where we opened the North American season just a couple of weeks ago in the Circuit of the Americas, which of course, like many Formula One circuits now, has acres and acres of tarmac runoff area as one car has gone around, and you can see the effects of the sand that's just to the outside of the track, and that gets drifted onto the tarmac. Here it is in replay, Tony. Oh my goodness me! Now that's a really interesting, but because he had an inside wheel off the track, and that's what spat him around.
Yeah, this corner number 6, it has sort of a blind apex, so I just think that the driver a little bit misjudged the apex where to place his race car, and he was over the inside curb onto the dirt, and you could see that when a car goes off, the next corner or the corner that he goes off, it's really covered in sand, and this is also things that happen sometimes in the race. You mentioned about the changes on the track. We see here nice footage and the green part outside the curb. I think the main areas when at the time when they resurfaced the track was turns 5 and 6, where they just added that green area that wasn't there before, and those places initially was a bit criticized that we lost some character in Laguna Seca, but I think having seen all the racing yesterday, the track is still there. And now you can see the sand is creating more issues.
And that's as a direct result of dragging the sand onto the track, isn't it, Tony?
Exactly. So sometimes in Laguna this happens, that you are confident that the grip is there and the track just suddenly changes because of the sand on track.
And this is Frank Szczesniak, you see, once his wheels are on that, you know, presumably, Tony, it's like driving on ice.
Yeah, you just need that little tiny change in the level of grip, and this is the final result. Luckily, no further consequences on these spins, and then drivers are able to continue. The track condition itself, I think, is very difficult to improve the lap time right now.
Well, of course, Frank Szczesniak, any opportunity he had to improve has gone away now because the session has finished, the checkered flag is out. Anyone that is on a hot lap, of course, the time will still count, but I don't think anyone is going to be able to improve. So the order is going to be Massimo Perina from Jason McCarthy and this man, Mark Musso, driver of the number 13 car. He will be P3. Those are the Pirelli drivers. Now, for the Shell drivers, it's Gregory Hopkins ahead of Gidos Vatslovas and Matthew Dalton then. So best lap of 1:25.780 from Mark Musso. That's enough to give him P3 on the grid for the start when it comes for our 488 Challenge race later on.
Now, obviously, for the next session, the 296 Challenge Compacel drivers, they need to be informed. The team needs to tell the driver, be careful in the beginning of the session at turn 6. If we would have plenty of time, the jet blower would be a great thing to have on track, but obviously we have a super tight schedule throughout the day, so I think we will just send the 296 cars on track, and they need to be careful at turn 6.
Thank you, Tony. Let's go down into the pit lane with Shea Adam right now.
Massimo Perina, pole sitter once again. How different were the conditions this morning compared to anything else you've driven on so far this week?
Well, very different. Yesterday it was quite wet, so it made it very difficult to get the tires up to temp and also keep them within the pressures because they were the rain tires. Today it was difficult because it was cold, so getting the tires up to heat and holding the pressure was the hardest part, along with managing the traffic.
How similar do you think the conditions will be today for the race as compared to yesterday?
If this morning is any indicator, I think it'll be very similar.
Good luck replicating and keeping the perfect season alive.
Thank you very much.
Well done, Massimo. A great job done in qualifying. He takes the Rotofilm Pole Position Award, and here, confirmation of the classification then from that qualifying with Massimo Perina, who we've just heard from P1 ahead of Jason McCarthy and Mark Musso. Best of the Shell drivers, Gregory Hopkins, then it was Logan Broughton, Eric Pan, Brad Falvo, Michael Porter, Omar Balkasoon, and Gerdas Vatslovas then second best in terms of the Shell drivers. It was Frank Szczesniak who we saw going for a spin just at the end of the session ahead of Matthew Dalton, Henry Hummel, Richard Pineda, Enoch Hurd, Brad Evans, Ben Godenzi, Joel Rosenbacher, Dan Magnuszewski, running P19 ahead of Stephen Chen, Lance Corley, Steve Blevett, Joe Sposado, Louis Peruscia, then Jeffrey Keel, Bruce Cleveland and Bernard Gomez not setting a time during that qualifying session, which means he will be going from the back of the pack, as Tony had said. It's a packed schedule here at Laguna Seca as part of Ferrari Racing Days. Not only the brilliant Ferrari Challenge Racing, but also the XX programs, the F1 Clienti as well, and of course Club Competizione are here also. So there is so much activity that, generally speaking, when you've got a bit of breathing space in the schedule, you could perhaps get the jet blower out there, or even go back to old school and find someone with a broom. But time does not allow, so we're going to be relying on the Pirelli tyres that are shod on the 296s to do the track cleaning, as the Shell and Shell Am drivers in the 296s will go out for their 20-minute qualifying session. You're right, Tony. I mean, the teams will be more than well aware of what happened towards the conclusion of the 488 Challenge qualifying, and they'll be advising the drivers to take it just steady through those that sequence of turns first of all.
Yeah, the good thing is the drivers obviously go with the new cold tires, so it takes few laps before they are up to their speed, up to the fast lap. So at the time, I hope the racing line is cleared again, so it should be okay.
Right, I was mentioning just a few moments ago that Ferrari Racing Days includes the extraordinary laboratory cars from Maranello, the XX programs, and also the F1 Clienti as well. And here we just thought we'd give you a little glimpse of the cars out there on the track. I mean, these are extraordinary machines. The FXXK Evo and the FXX, the original progenitor as well, and of course the F1 car as well, all playing their part in entertaining in these Ferrari racing days. And the opportunity, of course, to see this, the hypercar modificata 499P out there on track as well. Of course, the very car that was victorious in Le Mans last year on Ferrari's return to the top class of Le Mans racing, and again, a Formula One car of such magnitude to see out there on the track as we look at Lisa Clark is just awesome, Tony.
Yeah, it is unbelievable with the Formula One cars. There's so much history. Whoever drove with that specific car, you always have the memories of Felipe Massa, Schumacher, even Kimi. You know, it's every time you see those cars and the original driver's name is still on the side of the car, you go like, wow, those were the days. You know, something special with the FX6 program. Just the sound and the beauty of the cars, the design is very special, and I love the sound of the FX6 cars. There's 3 different models. I think the top cars have over 1,000, maybe 1,200 horsepower. Yeah. So it is unbelievable. It's great to see those cars on track, and there's a lot of expectations on the 499P Modificata. Even yesterday, when that car or those cars are on track, the crowd is going like, wow. What is this car? It looks really amazing. And again, Ferrari has done incredible job, like having the link to an actual racing program now with the clients, that they can experience with the 499P Modificata. So it's something really special, and I'm happy that Ferrari is doing it. For so many years we were not part of the prototype game, and now we are in it very seriously. So the way Ferrari is reacting is I like the way the company is behaving now. I like the way they are involved in, for example, in endurance racing, and that makes me really happy.
Yes, and they take it very seriously. The global head of endurance, Antonello Coletta, who of course is the architect of the success of the hypercar, is here this weekend. He takes a huge. I mean, his work ethic is extraordinary. Yes. Congratulations and platitudes are due to the fantastic team back there, and of course to deliver what they did when we were in Le Mans last year was just an extraordinary. You couldn't have written the script any better. You know, it's wonderful to see.
But also the way Ferrari does things with Antonello and the whole philosophy. Antonello has been 2 weeks in US. He was in Sonoma. He's here. Yes. His calendar is full already with the LMH program.
Yes,
but he has the same passion, the same dedication for every event, from challenge to LMH, GT races around the world. So this is great to see, and he's been part of the game for a long time. So the passion is the same like the first day when he started working in Ferrari.
Thank you, Tony. Right, we're into qualifying now for our Copa Shell drivers. The Shell drivers have yellow strip across the top of the windscreen. The AM drivers have a black strip across the top of the windscreen now. We're on board here, and this is the car of Eric Marston. Eric, of course, performed really well yesterday, having taken pole position and then the race win as well. He was super delighted, and Eric is a real example of being out there in the Ferrari Challenge, living his racing dream. Perhaps later in life than maybe some drivers would choose to do so, but when they're given that opportunity, which Ferrari affords them, is just brilliant to see. I think that's Jeffrey Numberg that Eric Marston is chasing up the hill right now. But Eric, I had lunch with him on Friday, and he is as passionate can be in terms of being out there. And pretty much every driver that I have spoken to, in fact every driver that I have spoken to, absolutely love these 296s. You and I said yesterday, as we watched Roy Carroll and ride on board with him, that the 488 Challenge Evo, which we've just seen out on track for their qualifying session, that is such a winning racing car. And you just think things can't get any better, and then all of a sudden, Tony, they do. Maranello have come up with this 296, which is an extraordinary machine, which provokes a smile from ear to ear on every driver that gets out of this car, because it is so rewarding to drive. And I am told, and when I was interviewing Antonello Coletta just a couple of weeks ago in Mugello, I asked, because many drivers are saying this is like a GT3 car. It's as close to a GT3 car as any challenge car has ever been.
Yeah, very interesting points you are mentioning. I talked with Roberto Amorosi yesterday about Eric and his win yesterday, that what have you done with the race car, that you gave him a rocket? He said, no, I gave him a good race car,
Yes.
but Eric feels more comfortable with the 296. He had the talent with the 488, but something was missing, and now with the 296 he just took another step in his driving. And really, I saw him last night in the dinner, and he was super happy of the performance. He was on it already in Austin, in Coda. He had some contacts going into turn 11, and he didn't have a perfect weekend, but Eric did really well yesterday, and quite even a dominant performance. So very nice to see.
And he didn't have it easy because he had to deal with the safety car as well.
Yeah, that is something that, you have the race under control, and you see those full course yellow safety car signs, and you go, man, I lost the race. Now we are back fighting again for the restart. But he dealt with it like he has done many times, like he would have done it many times before, and great demonstration of the skill, talent, but also to control his nerves in the critical moments of the race.
We are watching Paul Lynn and also Jerry Walters, who are out there on track qualifying right now. Big news in this qualifying session, Tony, is the fact that Cyril Choksi, who missed the race yesterday, is in and back in again. Now, whether it's in a T car or whether they've repaired the car, that his original car, I don't know. But Cyril Choksi is out there, and he will be wanting to right the wrongs of yesterday and get as high up the order in qualifying as he can. El Hegi, that we're watching right now, currently P11 in the 178 car, which I have to say is an absolute beauty in that sort of burgundy colour. I think the car looks an utter piece. I really, really do. So Al Hegi, who we're watching right now, it's Robert McWilliams that's top of the timing chart at the moment, ahead of Chuck Whittle, and then Cyril Choksi, who I was talking about. And for the AM drivers, it is Dana Goodwin ahead of Steve Check. And then it is the 128 car of David Williams. So here is Cyril Choksi then. And Cyril Choksi is, I would suggest that that's that is a different car, actually, having now seen it side on. So Cyril Choksi in the 173 car, who is currently P3. So what the team have done, they have repaired his original car. So he is out there, and bearing in mind, Cyril Choksi comes into this round having taken a P2 and a P1 in Kota, of course, no points gained yesterday. But here is Eric Marston then laying down the gauntlet. He is P1 with a time of 1:26.489, a full 4/10 ahead of Cyril Choksi.
Yeah, a lot of traffic in front of Eric. So this is one thing we heard from the drivers yesterday, that was really difficult to find a clean lap in each of the 3 qualifying sessions. And you can see from Eric's car that he's definitely now up to speed. The warm-up, you could see that the front tires take a little bit more time to be ready to take up in the right temperature. So now Eric is on it. He needs to clear this traffic before the last turn to be able to have a clean lap. So you either push, you go for it now to overtake the other driver, or you back off. And I think what he's doing now, he's actually backing off a bit, and he needs to gap himself to the driver in front. Balzan never knew how to do it, but I hope Eric can make it happen now.
The Balzan that Tony mentions, of course, is driver coach Alessandro Balzan, himself a fine racing driver and victor of so many races. But Eric Marston's provisional pole has been taken away now by Robert Williams, the Ferrari of Washington driver. You're quite right, Eric was just buying himself some track space out there, and he goes for it again now. So he desperately wants P1. He knows the benefit of having that track position. As we watch the car of Jan Bernier, just kicking up a little bit of sand there from the back end of the car. Jan Bernier, then the Ferrari of Seattle driver, who is currently 5th fastest within the Shell drivers. Love the livery across that 296. The mix of orange and blue looking awesome in these wonderful, wonderful cars that, of course, made their debut in the Ferrari Challenge here in North America this year, the 296. What a lovely car. John Visca up to P3 now in qualifying. You can keep your eyes on everything that's going on to the left-hand side of your screen, as Robert McWilliams is currently leading with a 1:26.216. We're about halfway through this qualifying session, and the point that Tony Villander has made is absolutely spot on accurate, and that is you've got to find your way in, almost like a needle and thread your way through the traffic that's out there, and inevitably, even if a driver gets out of the way for you, it still impacts your lap time, doesn't it? Because your concentration is rather than just nailing every single apex, you're thinking about that driver that's there. Chuck Whittle now is 8th fastest. Good showing from Lisa Clark as well, who's 7th fastest. Tony.
Yeah, that was a good point. Yeah, traffic, you need to be clear, you need to have a clean lap, and check out what Eric just said. He backed off on the previous lap. He had just enough space in front of him, and he just posted the fastest lap time by 1.4 seconds. So yes, building up the temperatures, having the tires and the car ready to go, and the other factor is the traffic as well. You need to have a clean run to be able to do the best of your capacity on track. So also sometimes a little bit of patience. You know that everything is there, but you need to have the right space.
Yes, patience. Roger Monteforte has had patience and pace in bucketfuls as he goes and is quickest in our Shell Am drivers. The driver of the 101 car then, Roger Monteforte then, P1 in qualifying at the moment. Eric Marston, you're right, he was patient. He gapped the car in front of him, and he delivered a lap time which is a full 1.5 seconds quicker than Jan Bernier, who's currently 2nd fastest. And just a moment ago, and this is what happens in qualifying, it all happens so quickly. Just a moment ago, we were talking about Cyril Choksi right up at the sharp end. He's now dropped down to P7 as other drivers improve. So it is Eric Marston from Robert McWilliams, who now goes P2. Then Roy Carroll with a blistering lap for the Shell Am drivers, delivers a 1:25.515. That puts him 3rd fastest overall, but P1 within class. Here comes Jan Bernier then. And Jan Bernier stays P3 within class. It's P4 overall. So every single lap, someone is improving, and therefore the order is changing. Right across the categories as we look at Roy Carroll, and as I said, the Foreign Cars Italia driver, having posted a 1:25.515, it's a blistering lap, and there's only 2 cars quicker than Roy Carroll, and both of those drivers are Shell drivers. Roy Carroll is a Shell Am driver, so credit to Roy delivering a brilliant lap. Roger Monteforte has come into the pit lane. He's 2nd fastest within class at the moment, but Roy Carroll stays out there. It's Marston from McWilliams for the Shell drivers. It's Carroll from Monteforte for the Shell Am drivers, and it's the Roy Carroll car that we watch right now, staying out there, hoping to improve a little bit on the time of 1:25.515. The 128 car, which we can see is driven by David Williams. And David Williams at the moment is doing a good job out there in qualifying and hoping to improve from his P8 place within class at the moment. You can keep your eyes on the order on the graphics on the left-hand side of the screen. Cyril Choksi is on an improvement trajectory as well. We run the clock on Cyril Choksi. Bitterly disappointed that he couldn't contest the race yesterday. Desperate to come good today, and the first part of doing that is to nail a perfect qualifying lap time. So Cyril Choksi then, as I say, we run the clock on him. His target time is Eric Marston's time of 1:24.304. Now, Cyril knows as well as anybody else out there that track position is critical here at Laguna Seca as he heads towards breaking that time speed now. Cyril Choksi then goes up 1 place, but he's still 1.4 seconds down on Eric Marston. We've got 6.5 minutes of the session remaining, and he has got cars in front of him.
Yeah, I was just thinking with Choksi is the championship. You need to have good runs every weekend, every race, every qualifying. We've had, as we are in the 2nd weekend of the season, we have difficult qualifying sessions and even races in the wet conditions, and you always need to keep that focus, keep the car on track, don't damage the car. It's very critical for the championship. You can have the speed, but the consistency needs to be there as well. So for Cyril Choksi, it's not been an easy weekend so far.
Right. We're watching Helen Chu then. Good qualifying from Helen. The other thing to talk about qualifying, and we talk particularly here at Laguna Seca about track position, having P1, of course, is brilliant. But not only do you get the track position and the pole position, you actually get a point for that as well in terms of championship points. So every point. You know, and you and I, over many, many years of being involved in motor racing, we've seen time and time again how 1 point can make the difference. Just that pole position from way back when can make all the difference at the end of the year in the championship. John Visca is on an improvement trajectory as well. He's currently fourth fastest for Boardwalk Ferrari and is heading towards the timing line now. Got a couple of cars in front of him. They're not going to impact this lap. They will impact the next one. Let's see, he crosses the timing beam and stays P4. John Visca in the blue car. You can see the back end of now turning into the hairpin. So it is Marston from Bernier from McWilliams. And for the AM drivers, it's Carroll from Monteforte and Jerry Walters with a very good qualifying. Currently third fastest in our Shell AM drivers. It's one of the most distinctive cars out there. It's all pink with bubbles on it. This is Steve Czech, who's fourth fastest. He won't be happy with that, the Ferrari of Rancho Mirage driver. He will know that he's got more in the car and more in him. And in the final stages of his qualifying, he'll try and improve. There is the Jerry Walters car that I was just talking about. And as I say, it's so distinctive. But then so is everything else about the Jerry Walters racing campaign, because even the golf cart is painted in the same way. The luggage is painted in the same way, you know, really paying homage to this livery design that Jerry has across the fantastic 296 Challenge car.
Yeah, we mentioned many times the liveries, the color schemes on these cars are unbelievable, and drivers and teams are just taking it to another level. I mean, not only the race car, but everything else matches the colors as well. The thing you mentioned about the 1 point for the pole sitter, what came to my mind yesterday when we saw the standings after yesterday's races is really the way the point system is done. You just don't want those DNFs. You just need to be consistent.
Yes.
If you are just outside the podium, bring it home, P4, P5, but DNF is really bad for the championship. So consistency, once again, is the key for the championship and to be high up in the rankings in the end of the season.
Eric Marston then, currently P1, sitting in the car. Now, he's not going to go out in the speed. You know, basically, we often see with drivers that they'll post a really, really good lap, then they'll bring the car into the pit lane and they will stop. And they will only go out again if they need to respond to somebody else, therefore saving tyres for the race. Eric Marston, I would think, feels pretty confident. I mean, he has delivered a lap time in the 23s. He's the only driver that has done that, 1:23.656, which is a clear 8/10 quicker than Jan Bernier in P2. So he's just biding his time, and as I say, with a 3-minute margin in this qualifying session left, it would be a hard effort for him to get out there and qualify and put another lap time in, because he's just going to run out of time. But we can see that Phil Troxy is still out there. What did you pick up there, Tony?
Oh, what a sideways action coming from the corkscrew down the hill. That was quite a save. Whoa, that could have ended quite bad. So it was quite impressive car control. I don't know if we get a replay of that, but
wow. At the time and screen. Missed it, Tony.
Check this out. This is the highlights of the weekend so far.
Let's take a look at the replay then. And so corkscrew heading towards.
Whoa! That was good car control.
That
was a great car control, and tap on the brakes as well, just to check that. Hey guys, everything is okay. I'm just warming up the tires still.
Brilliant!
Wow.
Right, there is the 115 car of Helen Shue then. So we cross back to the 121 machine, which is driven by Roy Carroll. Roy Carroll, who is the quickest of our Shell AM drivers, and having done a very, very good job posting a 125.515. Is this going to better it? He's heading towards the timing beam. I would suggest not. So it's not going to be an improvement from Roy Carroll on this occasion. And we're running out of time to be able to see improvements, as out goes the 123 car of Robert McWilliams, who, that was the car, was it not, that was got very, very sideways and now is totally beached. That will be the end of this session, I would think, Tony.
Yeah, I think it was the same car that on the previous lap got a real sideways moment, and now he's on the top of the corkscrew. Luckily, this is a high-speed area, a hard braking zone, so luckily there is no damage.
Here's the replay, Tony.
So coming into corkscrew, you do run over the curbs on the right-hand side, but he's completely offline. He's way too wide on the right-hand side of the track, and there's just no grip. So I'm assuming that he overshot the braking area, and the gravel trap really worked this way. I mean, this time, because it's very high-speed area.
And that's what a gravel trap is designed to do, Tony, isn't
Exactly,
it?
yes.
Is to scrub that speed, and well, that means that the session is red flagged and it's not going to be restarted, I would suggest. So the order we will have will be Eric Marston, Jan Bernier and Chuck Whittle. They are the top 3 Shell drivers. The top 3 Shell Am drivers: Roy Carroll, Dana Goodwin and Roger Monteforte. That's the way it will look. So the session then has been suspended for that stricken car at the top of the corkscrew of the Ferrari of Washington driver Robert McWilliams. So very, very unfortunate. And as you say, just we talk about being millimetrically perfect, and if you're not millimetrically perfect, it is going to hurt, and metaphorically. And that certainly has closed the session early on, and that means that Robert is going to have quite some overtaking to do from his P5 starting position. This is Lisa Clark, who, of course, elevated into the Shell category this year by dint of winning the Shell Am Championship last year. A richly deserved championship win for Lisa Clark, who is an ever present in the Ferrari Challenge and races not only here in North America but in Europe too. Here's confirmation of the classification then. Eric Marston, pole position again, another point. Jan Bernier, P2. Great quality, Jan. Chuck Whittle, P3. Then it was Bruce Cleveland, back on form again. Robert McWilliams and Cyril Choksy ahead of Roy Carroll and John Viscup. Roy Carroll being the fastest of our Shell Am drivers out there with a time of 1:25.515. Lisa Clark, P9, then it was Dana Goodwin, Roger Monteforte, Jerry Walters, Steve Check, Brian Waltersdorf and David Williams then occupy the positions through to 15 ahead of Jeff Nunberg. Paul Lynn, Al Heggie, Helen Shu, Mitchell Green, Osvaldo Gallo not posting a time, and I have to say I think Paul Lynn is out of position there, maybe 2 for Jeffrey Nunberg, so some overtaking to come from those drivers. So we await the recovery of the car that's stuck in the gravel at the top of the corkscrew before we get qualifying underway for our remaining drivers. And there you can see the recovery team, I have to say, have worked really efficiently here at Laguna Seca, Tony. Whenever there's been an incident, they've been on it straight away, and it's not really suspended racing for very many minutes.
Yeah, it is true. We saw good reactions yesterday. We had only short times of safety car, full course yellow, so very, very good. An experienced crew here on track at Laguna Seca.
And whilst we're about it, let's give mention out to all the marshals around the track as well, because wherever you enjoy your motor racing in the world, were it not for that team of volunteers, the marshalling crew, we would not be able to enjoy this wonderful sport. So well done to you, and we thank you for everything that you do for us in pursuit of our excellent motor racing and the Ferrari Challenge here in North America. So, cars lining up, as you can see, and that's how efficient they are. The car is out at the gravel and is now distributing some of that gravel, of course, because, you know, the car almost sucks all the gravel up, Tony, doesn't it? And one of the fascinating things, if you're new to motor racing, is sometimes when you go into the paddock, you can actually see people there with vacuum cleaners. Now, it's not because they're giving the car a valet. It is because they're having to suck out some of the debris that lodges inside the car, Tony.
Yeah, the way these race cars are built, the floor, the bottom of the car is one continuous piece, and then all the gravel goes in between the chassis of the car and
Yes.
the floor, and you may end up having quite a lot of gravel actually there, and it's cleaned often. The other thing is all the belts, alternator, everything that is related to the engine on the technical side. You don't want any stones, any dirt, any gravel to go in the wrong places. And here we see very happy Paul Mann and the famous Balzan.
Alessandro Balzan goes and congratulates him. If you were watching our broadcasting yesterday, we were given the information that Alessandro Balzan had told Eric Marston, if you don't win this race, which he did, he said, you're going to be laundering all my underwear. So Eric didn't have to do that, and there you can see he is with Shea. He'll be thrilled about that as Balzan parks his golf cart very badly behind, I have to say, and Shea is there with, and I think a lot of it is Eric's performance this weekend is due to that haircut, Shea. You can tell him that from me.
That's what he's asking. Is that what's made the difference this weekend?
Yeah, it's very aerodynamic. Gives me the little bit of an edge there.
What has been the thing that's just clicked about the track and you this weekend?
I mean, it's my home track. I know this track really well. It's all of its little nuances. Yeah, I've just been able to nail it.
How much did you celebrate last night? Because I know you said maybe one drink.
I had like half a glass of wine. Didn't want to get too crazy, Yeah.
So today is when it really counts.
Absolutely. Today's when it really counts for sure. Hopefully I'll have something good today and can really celebrate.
Congrats on your second pole award of the weekend.
Thank you.
Well done, Eric Marston. Richly deserved. His second Rotiform pole position award, Tony. And that was just a nice collection of pieces, wasn't it, with Alessandro in the background as well. So, Eric, as he says, it's his home track, effectively. And a point that Eric made there that I want to pick up on is I know all the nuances of this place. How important is that track knowledge, Tony?
Yeah, obviously it gives you a little bit more confidence, but overall I would say Eric's story, his racing career, it's just a great story combined with the Ferrari challenge. He's built his experience. He's surrounded with people who have a great experience in this sport, and this is just a result because it is the man and the machine, but it's also the team and the people that are behind you. So the whole story that Eric's performance this weekend so far has been so great. I'm also happy for all the hard work he's done, and now it's paying off.
You mentioned there the team, Roberto Amorosi, you were talking about just a moment ago, another one that really is so passionate in the behind the scenes, if you will, in terms of being a team boss. And of course, it is that relationship, Tony, and that whole bond that you have that actually, when it all gels together, it really works.
Yeah, it is true. I drove with Roberto for 2 years, so I have quite a lot of stories, but we need to keep something towards the end of the season.
Okay.
So, but yes, very professional people, and like I said, you need the right know-how behind you to be able to find those last tenth or two on the lap time, and that just gives the extra boost for the driver when he knows that I have underneath a well-performing car,
yes,
and I need to be up for the task. So that is an extra motivator always for the driver, and Eric for sure. Driving around the Laguna Seca, he knows that this is my moment, and he's taking a full advantage of it.
Right, the action comes thick and fast, courtesy of the Ferrari Challenge North America. You cannot say we don't bring you value in terms of on-track action, because right away we get our Trofeo Pirelli drivers out there for their qualifying session as we watch Benoit Bergeron, who is one of our Pirelli AM drivers. You can identify that by the white strip across the top of the windscreen. Our Pirelli drivers with the red strip across the top of the windscreen. They're out for their 20-minute qualifying session, of which some 2.5 minutes has already elapsed of their qualifying session. That's what I say about we bring you just great value in terms of entertainment. So drivers out there for their quali session, and let's see who will do what and where as we watch Jason McCarthy. Now, I mentioned earlier on that Jason McCarthy got double bubbled this weekend because not only racing in this 296 Challenge car in Trofeo Pirelli, but also racing in the 488 Challenge as well. So he did the same at the Circuit of the Americas. So Jason McCarthy just testing the limits of grip as he went into that turn. He's warming the car up right now, and we expect to see good things from the wide world Ferrari driver in this qualifying session. Littered with talent, as all our categories are. This is Trofeo Pirelli and Pirelli AM out there for their qualifying.
Yes, yesterday Jason McCarthy was really on it again when the conditions were not completely stable. With a little bit of aggression and really confident with the car, he was able to nail the pole position. Not super pace in the race. Actually, I met with Dylan Medler yesterday and asked Dylan, you were almost the whole race just on the bumper of Jason McCarthy, and you didn't try. You didn't give a little love tap to try to open the overtaking chance. And do you know what Dylan said?
No.
Yeah, but I came from DNF in Austin. I had to think about the championship points. Like we said in the broadcast, it is sometimes, even if you have the speed to win the race, but you need to do the race distance, and there was just a high risk, seeing the way Jason was driving, that you would end up in a contact. So that's why Dylan never really went side by side with Jason McCarthy.
And I have to say, having watched Jason McCarthy in the race yesterday, we were watching John Bennett right now, the Foreign Cars Italia driver, who is currently second fastest. I thought Jason McCarthy gave us an abject textbook lesson in terms of defensive driving. I'm not saying that he was slow by any means, because he wasn't, but there was nothing that anyone could do to try and find a way by. You mentioned about making the cars quite wide and metaphorically sticking your elbows out. Jason gave us a masterclass in terms of defending his track position, which of course it is his right to do.
And perfect demonstration of the track position. You earned the pole position. You are not giving the lead of the race easily to the other drivers, and he showed a really great example of it. I asked Dylan also about, we mentioned the rotation on turn 2. It looked like Jason was struggling a bit more, and Dylan had an interesting answer. He said it felt almost like Jason was parking the car a bit more mid-corner, because obviously there you cannot overtake, just to have a good exit and to make things more complicated to the drivers behind. So a lot of strategies, a lot of things going in these races, and that's interesting background. Interesting hear these comments from the drivers.
Well, momentarily, David Musial Jr. was at the top of the chart, but right now it is Jason McCarthy who has posted the quickest time, or 1:25.179. And here we can see Dylan Medler and Jason McCarthy. The roles are almost reversed in this qualifying now, Tony, because it's Dylan Medler in the number 15 car that we can see there. The collection driver, and he's got Jason McCarthy right up his trumpet.
Jason was already on the fast lap, but as was Dylan, warming up the tires and running into traffic. Now Jason has the same thing. And again, do you clear the traffic before the next lap, or you back off? And I think Jason is on it. He wants to overtake these drivers before the last turn to have a clear run for next lap.
Dave Musial Jr. has gone back to the top of the chart, and the first driver to post a 1:24 time. It's a 1:24.552. So the number 3 car that we watch right now is Brian Cook, who of course comes here with a rich vein of success onto the track again today. Brian Cook then having taken 3 wins out of 3 starts thus far in the 2024 Ferrari Challenge North America season, riding on board with Brian Cook then, who with a 1:25.787, the Ferrari of Seattle driver is top driver in Pirelli AM, qualifying at the moment ahead of David Musial, who's second fastest. And there you can see the number 31 car of Dave Musial Jr. Now, is he just buying himself track time here? I think so, Tony, because he accelerates away now. Very clever driving from David Musial Jr. This is also where your team play an important part, because his coach will be on the radio saying, right, ease off, let these 2 cars come past, then you can have clear track.
Yeah, there is a couple of things. What are the drivers around you? What is their pace? Maybe place your driver close to a driver that is really fast on track and is predicting that he will post really fast lap times. And the other thing is just the physical gap. I just need to gap and find a space where I can do the whole lap without anybody around me. And like we said, even if there is a car that is really giving you the racing line, the car is still there and you lose few tenths. You need to brake a little bit earlier. You need to just make sure that there's no contact with the other car. So a clear lap has a high value here.
It was a welcome return to the Ferrari Challenge for this man yesterday, Jeremy Clark, and he's out there qualifying right now. P6 at the moment for Jeremy Clark. As I say, a welcome return to Ferrari Challenge. He took podium place yesterday, a P3 did Jeremy, and he'll be hoping to best that today. So the order is now, we have Brian Cook, Tony, who is the best of the AM drivers. Not only that, he's the best driver overall. Well, he was until the very man that I was talking about, Jeremy Clark, who has shaved a big 1 second margin out of Brian Cook's previous best time. It's a 1:23.463, and now Roberto Perina delivers a 1:22.912. So the lap times are tumbling down, and we have just under 12 minutes of this qualifying session remaining. Great driving from Roberto Perina. The Perina name, of course, already successful in qualifying today, with Massimo having gone very quick in the 488 Challenge. And now Roberto Perina, the Ferrari of Seattle driver, goes quickest of anyone. So watching Chang now in the number 99 car, Frank Chan then for Ferrari of Seattle, currently 7th fastest within class. A bit of smoke there, Tony, a bit of dust had been kicked up from one of the rear wheels of one of our cars that had just picked up a bit of dust. So the order is Perina, Musial Jr. and Clark, top 3 in Pirelli. For Pirelli AMs, big shout out to Sebastian Mascaro, who's gone quickest in Pirelli AM, ahead of Brian Cook and David Musial. Well, let's spin that around now as Brian Cook responds with a 1:23.736 that he goes quickest of the Pirelli AM drivers. Joe Rubo Ferrari of Long Island driver is currently 9th fastest within class. And let's see what Joe Rubo could do this time as he heads to break the timing beam now. Target time of 1:22.716. And this is going to be the time posted by Joe, which is almost 2 seconds down. So he'll be hoping to improve on this lap. It's Clark from McCarthy from Perina. And then for our AM drivers, it is Cook, Mascaro, and Musial. That's the way it looks at the moment as we continue to follow the number 28 car of Joe Rubo, who was on the podium in the opening round at the Circuit of the Americas, taking a P3. This is Michael Mathis then. Michael is currently 4th fastest for Ferrari of Central New Jersey in Trofeo Pirelli AM classification. The way it looks at the moment, it's P12 overall, but P4 within that class. So Clark, McCarthy, Perina, Musial Jr., then Dylan Medler at the moment is P5. So I'm expecting perhaps more to come from Dylan Medler before this session is done. And one driver we've not mentioned yet is Matthias Kompank, who is currently now 4th fastest within the Pirelli AM drivers, as we pick up once again on Jason McCarthy. When you watch Jason's racecraft, Tony, and I really, really like this, whether it's attacking or whether it's defending, you just get the impression, and you can tell it from the movement of the car, that Jason goes all out. He's given that 110% on every centimetre of tarmac.
Yeah, I somehow feel that Jason, as a race driver, as in the race, is one of the most complete drivers we have out there. He really sees the whole big picture. He's about track position, defend, brake late, go outside in the coda, turn 1, gain positions. He's really hanging to his place on track, and he's with the right aggression level as well. So I know all the drivers, I think all the drivers around him know that he's not an easy driver to overtake, and I just like the way he's driving and handling his car on track, and also how he sees the whole weekend.
Matthias Kompank, who we were talking about at the moment, P5 in class. Expect potential improvement to come from Matthias Kompank before the end of this session. And expect that to come for the Ferrari of Central Florida driver, who actually improves as we speak about it. Where does that post him within class, Tony? P1?
Yeah, he goes P1. Obviously, great performance yesterday with rain tires in qualifying. Matthias did overall pole position, which was incredible. And obviously, with the category split, he started P1 in the Pro-Am behind the let's say Pirelli Am, behind the Pirelli drivers, and then had a little bit messy race start where he actually was giving a penalty where he moved from the line before the race went green. So let's say the pace is there, but Matthias is still gathering some experience. He needs to learn some of these things that happen outside testing, outside posting a fast lap, and it will be interesting to see his progression throughout this Ferrari Challenge season.
This is David Musial that we're looking at right now. The Ferrari of Lake Forest driver is currently 3rd fastest within class. Well done to David Musial then. And of course his son David Musial 2.0 is racing in the Pirelli class. I was talking to David yesterday and he said, you know what, it's just a dream come true to be able to race with my son in the same race, you know, and actually, you know, I care more about what he's doing than what I'm doing. Actually, I think you're hiding the light under a bushel, if I'm honest with you, because David is supremely competitive and is out there P3 at the moment. May I make mention of the fact that Jeremy Clark, who's being chased by this man, Roberto Perina, Jeremy Clark is at the top of the chart with a 1:22.385. The top 5 drivers, 6 drivers, all in the 1:22s, and Roberto Perina is trying to chase down that 1:22.385 of Jeremy Clark. There is merely a 100th gap between P1 and P2. That's how close it is. And Jeremy Clark has actually parked the car up. He's so satisfied with the performance that he's given. That's, in my opinion, it could be dangerous. But Roberto Perina comes in, because we've still got 6 minutes of the session remaining, and you know, it's not beyond the realms of possibility to see big improvements from the likes of Dylan Medler and David Musial Jr. and Joe Rubo, etc., etc.
Yeah, Roberto Perina yesterday in the race at the start was really the driver who was making the moves, and it looked really good. He was really hungry to gain those positions, and then it got a little bit messy. I believe he made a little driving error as well, so in the end wasn't the clearest race for him. For sure he has a great pace, even the qualifying now is showing the same thing, but I think in today's race he wants to redo the things that were lacking yesterday, so it'll be interesting race. I was expecting a bit more from Dylan Medler. He's still around 4/10 from P1. Like you said, maybe towards the end of the qualifying we are still expecting some improvements, but very strong performance from the drivers that are P1 and P2, almost identical lap time, 1:22.3.
Yes, you're right. Very, very close. Let's go down into the pit lane with Shea Adam right now.
You guys want to talk about the diversity of what we're seeing in the pit lane? Well, we've got Jeremy Clark in the pit lane out of his car. The number 87 Ferrari Beverly Hills entry is stationary on the pit lane, will not be resuming the session because Jeremy's already taken his helmet off and decided enough is enough. Whereas the people chasing him, namely, Roberto Perena and Jason McCarthy, came in, did tire pressure adjustments very rapidly, and both cars already back out on the racing surface.
Very, very good point you make, Shay, because Perena and, Medler and, there are still drivers with 4.5 minutes left that can and probably will improve. So we're watching Logan here, who's currently 7th fastest. Jay Logan took a P6 yesterday for Boardwalk Ferrari. He is a Pirelli AM driver, so you've got to be supreme in confidence to park the car and get out of the car, and Jeremy Clark clearly is. I mean, he has posted a 1:22.385, but it could not be closer. I mean, talking about a couple of 100ths or a 10th here and there. The difference between our top drivers is so very close in this ultra-competitive Ferrari Challenge Trofeo Pirelli.
Yeah, to park the car now with the 11 thousandths of a gap, I think it's down to the game plan. Like you said earlier, save the tires for the race. Also, driver can say, hey, I'm on the second lap after the fastest that I did. I'm not improving anymore. So why not park the car? If somebody improves. But we did our best, and I think this is the situation with Clark, who is right now in P1.
We watched the car of Benoit Bergeron then, driver of this all-yellow 296 Challenge that we are watching right now. Honesty plays a part in this, Tony, as well, doesn't it? Because if you're out there and you feel that you've delivered everything that you can, then there isn't any point in trying to extract any more. If you genuinely feel you've done the best you can, as Jason McCarthy then is throwing that car around here, lumping it over the curves. And this is what I was saying earlier on about he is a great driver for us to watch because you just feel he gives it absolutely everything. And he's still out there, as is Roberto Perena then. And Matthias Kompank now goes quickest in the AM drivers. He is 3rd fastest overall. And Roberto Perena is currently 2nd fastest. He's still out there. Jason McCarthy is still out there. There are lots of drivers that are hoping within the 2.5 minutes of this session that remains that maybe, just maybe, they will be able to improve. And Dave Musial Jr. for Ferrari of Lake Forest, he goes to the top of the chart with a brilliant lap, a 1:22.285, a clear 10th quicker than Jeremy Clark.
Wow, that was an impressive lap. I didn't see it coming, but I must say that was a really impressive lap. 2 minutes to go and post the fastest lap of the whole grid. That is impressive.
And Jason McCarthy feels he's done everything that he can, and dare I say it, Tony, is much further down the order than he would like to be. There is Jeremy Clark, still all smiles, despite the fact that his point for pole position has just at the moment been taken away from him by Dave Musial Jr., the Ferrari of Lake Forest driver, who posted a 1:22.285. It's tight at the top and really enjoyable for us. And the number 31 car absolutely pummeling his way through this corkscrew. And he's already delivered enough to give him a provisional pole position. But is he on an improvement trajectory? We will see when we get towards the end of this lap. Brilliant driving from the young talent that is Dave Musial 2.0. And this, for me, like Matthias Kompank, like the other drivers, so many other drivers that we see, proving that the Ferrari Challenge is a great proving ground for young drivers as Dave Musial Jr. then does not improve on that lap, but he's going again. Just the point I was making there is young drivers can really use the Ferrari Challenge as a springboard to further racing success.
Yes, and these young drivers are so well prepared, so ready. And again, when we saw the last corners of Musial on that last lap, it's just what a confidence with the race car. He's taking from left to right, really the movement of the car in braking zones, and the way he's throwing the car around this Laguna Seca track, it just shows a huge confidence with our new 296 Challenge car, and it's great to watch.
Matthias Compact then is quickest in the AM drivers, but he's going for another lap as well. You can see the graphics on the bottom of your screen here. And yesterday, as you rightly reminded us, Tony, he was quickest overall. I mean, that was a really, really impressive qualifying drive yesterday. Equally impressive today, and currently P1 within class. And I have to say, he gets to within a tenth of David Musial Jr.'s time as well. Oh, around has gone the number 28 car of Joe Rubo. Joe gets it pointing in the right direction once again. Now, anyone that has crossed the line with time left on the clock can, of course, complete their lap.
Let's see the end of the lap for Perina. Oh!
And that's how hard the drivers are pushing, Tony.
Yes, so he just goes wide in the second last corner, trying to go on throttle a bit too early, and turn 10 exit bites him, and he backs off and comes into the pit lane. But what David Musial Jr. and Matthias Compact were able to show to us, keep running, do a couple of more laps, and something might happen with the tires, with the balance, and few tenths is suddenly there. And last laps of Musial and Matthias Compact were impressive, and we got new front row. Oh, let's say, Matthias starts P1 in Pirelli AM. When we split the classes, but anyway, as a timing and scoring, we got new leaders in the end of the session, which was surprising.
Yes, and I'm thrilled for David 2.0 to take that pole position. Well done to Matthias Compact taking pole position in Trofeo Pirelli AM. Brilliant qualifying, which has kept us riveted right until the end of the session. Well done to all the drivers out there. One or two drivers are out of position, which for us, Tony, is going to provide brilliant text to the race to come a little bit later on today, because they're going to be drivers that are going to want to be doing overtaking, the likes of Roberto Perina and Dylan Medler and Sebastian Mascaro and Tony Davis, etc., etc. So Brian Cook then, P2 for Ferrari of Seattle. Of course, I remind you, he comes into today's race a little bit later on today as unbeaten in class, and he would have liked to have had that P1 position, but to be fair, Tony, Brian Cook proved yesterday that actually you can still take the victory even if you're not pole position. I mean, there are opportunities, and Brian seized every one of those and did a fine job yesterday, so he'll be hoping to do the same today. Very much looking forward to the racing to come a little bit later as the cars we ride on board, riding through the paddock here in Laguna Seca, and great onboard shots. I'm really enjoying that. David Musial Jr., David 2.0, is pole position in Ferrari Challenge Trofeo Pirelli, and is with Shea right now.
First overall pole. This is a pretty cool day for you, Dave. This has been a good track in the past. Yesterday, good day. How are you feeling about the race day today?
I'm feeling really good, feeling confident, feeling a lot better today than yesterday, especially with the qualifying yesterday morning. It was really rough for me, so I'm feeling really good about the race today. So I just want to bring it home.
You and your dad have a very great relationship, and you do a bit of fun where you kind of earn a reward when you do well. I think ice cream has been the thing in the past. What's the incentive for today?
I would say ice cream, stuff like that, just going to try to keep the energy level up there, so probably drink a Bang energy drink before I go out there, so,
Congrats on the first trophy of the day. Hopefully it's not the last.
Thank you.
Gelato. That's where it's at, Tony Verlander. Gelato. I have to say, the relationship between David and his father is awesome. David Musial Jr., 2.0 then, takes pole position. Matias Perez Compact takes pole position, although second overall, but pole position in Pirelli Am. They were ahead of Jeremy Clark, Roberto Perena, Dylan Medler, Jason McCarthy, Joe Rubo, and John Bennett occupy the first 8 positions. And then it was Brian Cook, Michael Petramalo, Tony Davis, David Musial, then Sebastian Mascaro and Martin Burrows and Jay Logan. They occupy the positions P9 through 15, ahead of Michael Mathis, Frank Chang, Benoit Bergeron, John Horsch, and Brian Kaminsky. Neither of those 2 drivers setting a time in qualifying, therefore it will be a back-of-the-grid start for those drivers. Well, qualifying has been epic. We're looking forward to the racing. Big thanks to Shea Adam and to Tony Verlander. Make sure you join us for the next on-track action here at Laguna Seca, courtesy of Ferrari Racing Days.